Why is it that Ed here, who can't even touch his toes to save his life, can do this stretch with ease? Yet I, a yoga teacher and someone who works on her flexibility consistently, just can't. Ed has a flexibility secret. If you found yourself frustrated with lack of progress or a stubbornness in your hip mobility, let me share Ed's secret with you so that you can understand your own flexibility hurdles and how to overcome them. But before I can tell you his secret, you need to have a little understanding of the slightly nerdy makeup of your hip joint, or it'll all just mean nothing to you. This isn't a science class though, so let's whiz through it nice and quickly. You have two hip joints, a left one and a right one. And simply put, the hip joint is where the femur connects to the pelvis. If we look a little closer, we can see that the femur has a head and a neck at the top of the bone. It's the femoral head that connects with the pelvis as a ball and socket hip joint. And in the same way that some of us are born with the genetics to be tall with long bones, or perhaps short with shorter bones, we also each have a genetic uniqueness to this ball and socket at the hip joint. So where do the secrets lie? Let me share with you the three ways that the hip joint is different between each and every one of us. The socket part of the joint can be deep, let's say for example like this mug, or it can be more shallow, like this teacup. The neck of the femur can be thick, for example like this kitchen mold tube, or relatively slim, like this pen. And then thirdly, the direction that the socket faces varies too. It could be more upward, more downward, more outward, or more forward. So now that we know our anatomy a little better, here's the good stuff where the flexibility secrets come into play. What do these differences mean? Well, let's take for an example a hip with a deep socket and a thick femoral neck. The range of motion that this hip might have might look something like this. And then let's take another example, a hip with a more shallow socket and a slimmer femoral neck. What sort of range of motion can this hip create? So much more. And it's probably a much simpler concept to visualize that if your socket points more outward, your leg is going to have a much easier time moving in that direction than it would if the socket faced more forward. Ed's secret is that his hip anatomy is advantageous for external rotation